Good evening, folks. This is Deb and Dave, and this is the Factivist Report. So, it's time for the Democrats and the voters to think big. Look, Kamala Harris is uniting people from the four corners of the freaking continent, for crying out loud. There are people, we have evangelicals for Harris now, okay?
Martians for Harris.
All
We
right,
have we have Republicans for Harris.
we do, okay?
Okay.
And what is she bringing to the table? She's bringing hope to the table for people who've been sitting in the fetid, disgusting aura of Donald Trump for the past 9 years. And it's time to think big. It's time to break out, because what Kamala Harris is doing is bringing opportunity to down ballot races. So we are talking about not only taking back the House, but we are talking about expanding the Senate. And we're going to go over those seats that we think we can accomplish that with. So
I have to say, listen, I'm not going to be talking about polls. I'm not. But what I will say is that for the past few months, what I've been hearing from the press is, oh, I don't know. The Democrats are going to have a tough road. They might be able to get away with being 50-50. They don't be surprised if they lose it to, oh my God, could they actually win this seat? Could they actually win Tennessee? Could Gloria Johnson actually win? Could Debbie Merkel-Powell actually win in Florida?
you know,
Could this one win? Or could Colin Allred?
this is a whole new race now,
Right.
from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket. This is a whole new ball game. So we need to think big, and we need to get the vote out. Okay.
And let us start with my presentation. All right.
Help me. Help me.
I will help you by showing you whatever. Come on. Hold on. There we go. Yes, we're a big production here. All right, hold on. Yes. Hold on. I'm keying up the lasers.
Sweat the small stuff, because we don't sweat the big stuff.
Hold on one second. I'm still stuck in the old. There we go. Let me see. Da, 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 da.
It's having a Trump moment.
Yeah. So, all right. Here's why I'm bringing this up. Kamala Harris is thinking big. She's in office now as a vice president. She has a mentor that she can talk to. She's in the system. She's in the current administration, presidential administration, and she's talking about a new plan to lower housing costs. Now, I'm not going to get into it. This is a big idea, and this is what you do when you run for office, especially if you're already in. My point is that she is garnering a ton of excitement right now. We have the DNC convention coming up very, very soon.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Opens tomorrow.
It opens tomorrow. So we need to ride that excitement, ride that enthusiasm, ride that hope, as Deb said.
Look,
for months.
Look,
for
here's
months.
what we're saying, and that's what was in that previous article that you had up.
Yeah.
Bottom line is this: we have a great economy. We have the best economy in the world right now, coming out of the pandemic. But everybody knows that we are suffering from corporate greed. Okay. Yep. No one's willing to say that. The only person that's saying that is Kamala Harris. Okay. The news media is not willing to say it. And certainly the Republican Party isn't saying it, because they like corporate greed. I don't know how to put it any other way. But the bottom line is, everybody knows that one of the chief drivers of inflation is housing problems, housing shortages.
Yep.
So what Kamala Harris is doing is addressing a problem with a solution.
We will absolutely cover her plan as it moves forward.
Yes, we
But
will.
all I wanted to cover there is she has a plan.
She does.
Now, for months, I've just been hearing doom and gloom about, oh, the Senate, we're going to lose the Senate. Democrats have new hope for battle in the Senate majority. Chuck Schumer actually said it. We may not only keep our lead, we may expand our lead. Now, he can't go full guns and say, we're going to crush them all. You can't say that. But he could say this because it's a whole new ball game.
And besides, some of those people that we have to get rid of, they're going to be there until 2026 and 2029. So this is not the last election that we must come out in droves to vote in. This is an ongoing thing. We need to change our attitude.
This is one cycle.
That's right.
And I have 6 senators here. Now, if we get a majority of these, we're gonna be in a really good spot. We are. Number one, and he is presumed to be the winner on this. But let's start, and don't assume anything. But he is currently in office. This is Ruben Gallego. I am not going to talk, mostly not going to talk about anything outside of their plan or what they're going to do for the most part. I'm also not going to talk about their opponents other than to say who they are running against, because I am sick and tired of talking about people who have no serious plan for the United States.
I'm also
Kerry Lake has no serious plan, and he's running against Kerry Lake.
Straight out, we're not anybody's Democratic zone here. Okay, we're not for the Republican Party, and we're not fair and balanced. There is no fair and balance when it comes to this GOP. I'm sorry, they get no more play here.
Now, one thing I noticed with Ruben Gallego's press page is that a lot of what he's doing is taking the money that was allocated through Biden plans. And he says that he doesn't take credit for it, unlike GOP jackasses. There's just a couple of things. Gallego announces $41.5 million to combat veteran homelessness in Arizona. Securing over $950,000 for a San Carlos Apache Police Department. A big thing that he's against, or that he's criticizing the current administration for, is not addressing a heat strategy enough. Now, he's in Arizona, so this is something he's gonna push for. Gallego's statement on new national heat strategy. The National Integrated Heat Health Information Center and the Interagency Working Group released the first national heat strategy for 2024 and 2030. Rep. Gallego released the following statement. For years, I have led the push to fund National Integrated Heat Health Information System. I'm proud to see these efforts pay off. In a few things down, he was slamming people for not providing this. So somebody listened to him. Gallego fights for more affordable housing opportunities. Arizona students head back to school. Gallego introduces bill to reduce chronic absenteeism. And you might see this a lot because this was a thing that Kamala Harris was fighting in California. You see what I meant? Gallego calls out administration for insufficient extreme heat response. A few days later, we have an agency. Let's see here. One thing I wanted to mention. Okay. I noticed this one simply because it was Malliotakis. Gallego and Malliotakis call on Biden administration to condemn Maduro regime and impose sanctions. So we have Maduro in Venezuela, he has been criticized for suppressing the vote and that kind of thing. Now, isn't it interesting that Gallego was able to get Malliotakis on that, given who she supports? I'm just saying. Next one is Debbie Merkisel Powell. She is running against Rick Scott. I do want to say a couple of things about Debbie Merkisel Powell. She was in office. She was in the U.S. House seat, Florida. It was Florida District 26 from 2019 to 2021. These are the things that she helped pass. Fairness for High Skilled Immigrants Act, 2020, HEROES Act, For the People's Act, CARES Act, Equality Act, Bipartisan Background Check Act, American Dream and Promise Act. And let's see. She also, of course, voted to impeach Donald Trump twice. She lost in 2021. I searched to see why. This district flip-flops back and forth between Republican and Democrat.
Let's remember
That's just
let's remember the 2021, we were in the throes of MAGA. And
that too.
Florida shifted. Florida was not as red as it is now. It was
Right.
never as red, and we need to get that back again.
She does mention that it's purple, that this is a different state. Here's the one, in her term, she was able to enact legislation. And for a rookie congressperson, that's pretty impressive, actually. It was HR, and especially in, as what Deb said, a MAGA administration. It was HR 3110, Coast Guard Shore Infrastructure Improvement Act. She basically called for a new department to make sure that the Coast Guard is properly built up and protected. So tell me one thing, and I'll challenge the people who are watching this show. Tell me something that Rick Scott has done. She's running against Rick Scott for Senate, by the way.
Rick Scott won his last election by the slimmest of margins. By all accounts, he is not the most popular senator, even though he's a Republican. This seat is for the taking now, okay? Rick Scott's corrupt to begin with, and he's never been really popular. He's just a Republican occupying a seat, as far as I'm concerned. This is a chance for us to get rid of this guy.
And the fact that not only did he bilk sick people, he also bilked the Republican Party. Where's the money, Rick? Where's the money?
Still looking for it.
Right. So we have next. We've just done Arizona. We've done Florida. Next is Missouri. This is Lucas Kunce. He's a veteran running against Josh Hawley.
Oh,
The one thing that I noticed, he has come up with a plan. A lot of it has to do with our relationships with other countries and the wars and how veterans are treated, because he's a veteran. But the one thing that I really looked at and saw when I saw this press release was that he is looking to revitalize the WARN Act. That is something that protects workers. Right now, it's I believe it's a 60-day notice. He wants to revitalize it and make it 120 days. That people have 4 months before they have to leave a job because the business is closing or whatever. when someone loses their job, whether it be through a merger or whatever, it is a traumatic event. I've been through it with my wife. It's really difficult, and this would actually help people. I did put in something through from the U.S. Department of Labor on the WARN Act if you're interested. Um, so, and there are other things that Lucas Kunce is proposing, but he has a plan. What plan does the candidate that he's running against have, other than throwing his fist up and freaking running away, or going to a town fair, getting in Lucas Kunce's face, and then running away? It's like is nothing. So consider Lucas Kunce. And one other thing I want to say before I move on to Tennessee and Gloria Johnson is that, yes, Cori Bush lost her primary. One of the things that I'm hearing from people I know in Missouri, from the news, everything else, is that, well, Missouri wants to move away from the extreme views. This is a chance. I mean, I don't really agree with going from Cori Bush to Wesley Bell, but we got to run with it now. But if that's the case, I don't know of anyone that many more people that are more extreme than Josh Hawley.
I want to just say something about Cori Bush and
Yeah.
Jamal Bowman. They're not extreme at all. All right.
No.
Their vision is what the future of the Democratic Party is under AOC and all of these people. And they lost their primaries largely due to
AIPAC
and an influx of money over the whole Israel-Hamas thing. And that's it. So it's a setback for progressives, but it is by no means, as the GOP would have you believe, it indicated that progressivism is going away. It is not going away. So let me just say that we're here to stay. And these seats are every 2 years. So we got another one coming up in 2026.
And not for nothing, they can run again.
There will be progressive challenges for both of those.
Right. And that was by the way, before I move on, as Deb said, that was a concerted effort by AIPAC.
Right.
They had a targeted strategy. They went specifically at Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. Jamal Bowman was the victim of redistricting, and Cori Bush, it was just the timing of it. So it's not, I hear AOC being interviewed about it. Progressivism is not going away. As a matter of fact, it may be making a resurgence after Kamala and win, if Kamala and Tim Walz win. And here we go. Speaking of which, Gloria Johnson. A couple things I want to say about Gloria Johnson. Gloria Johnson is one of the Tennessee three. The other two were voted to be kicked out, but came back. Gloria Johnson was not voted for expulsion because that vote lost by 1. And when she was asked why she was not kicked out, she said, "Well, I'm a white woman." Something I want to tell anybody who is in Tennessee, especially in her district, she can, will, and is running for 2 positions. And I think this is extremely smart, actually. She's running for her current seat in the Tennessee House of Representatives, District 90, and she is also running against Marsha Blackburn. So if she wins against Marsha Blackburn's, they're going to have a special election for the state house seat, but it's insurance that if she doesn't win against Marsha Blackburn, she's still running for her current position, and you're not going to lose her because she's running for a higher seat.
Right.
And it happens a lot. You saw it with Katie Porter.
Right.
Okay. A couple things about Gloria Johnson, and this just basically says Marsha Blackburn versus Gloria Johnson, Tennessee Senate contest will raise the stakes and the temperature. It's basically saying that this may very well define both parties. And Marsha Blackburn, yeah, she identifies with the Republican Party. She's a nut. She hasn't really done anything other than complain about Taylor Swift. So I don't know why this isn't in here. The one thing I want to say, this is just a small ad blocked article, and it's just a small article too. But it brings up the question. People assumed that she was not going to win, that she doesn't have a chance at all. Now people are like, can she actually win? Can Gloria Johnson win? The answer is yes.
Right.
If you vote for her. And this is a completely different situation now. It's obvious. Gloria Johnson has fought for kids. Gloria Johnson has fought for gun rights. Tell me what Marsha Blackburn has fought.
Marsha Blackburn.
Yeah, her own hairstyle.
Is one of the most useless people in government, quite frankly.
Right.
I really don't have any clue what she's ever done positive for anybody, even in her own district, to be honest with you. So,
right. So on to Colin Allred. He's currently in office. He's running against Ted Cruz. And again, thousands of manufacturing and construction jobs headed to Texas, thanks to, again, he's thanking Biden, to the $1.6 billion CHIPS Act investment in Texas Instruments. Interesting. Allred named most bipartisan member of Congress in Texas delegation. Again, $4.2 million headed to Dallas Love Field thanks to bipartisan infrastructure law. These guys are giving credit to, but they're taking the money.
It's better than
it's there
against the bill than taking the money in than taking credit like the Republicans do.
Right. Or just denying the money, saying, we don't want it. They don't need it.
Well, states' rights. It's their rights to keep the state in poverty if that's what they really want to do.
Now, okay, this is an article about, Allred and immigration. If it was just Ted Cruz, he's running against Ted Cruz, talking about him being soft on immigration, I wouldn't have put it in. But here is Allred's stance on immigration and the views. He wrote an op-ed against the border wall, which is what Ted Cruz is basically slamming him for. He's saying it's a failed policy. He's saying it doesn't work. It's a waste of money, blah, blah, blah. But what Colin Allred is asking for, we need resources to help secure our airports and ports of entry, where 90% of heroin and an overwhelming majority of other illegal drugs enter the country. We need new technology to scan vehicles so we can detect unauthorized crossings and contraband. Basically, he's asking for resources for extra manpower and technology, which would have been provided with Biden's immigration bill, which Cruz or his party voted against. So finally, we have one more state. Now, pretty much every news organization has written this off as a loss because Joe Manchin left West Virginia. We have someone, his name is Glenn Elliott. I didn't even know he was running. We did a piece on his primary opponent. We actually liked Zach Shrewsbury. However, this is the man who won the primary. Maybe he is more suited because he actually has experience in governing. His name is Glenn Elliott. He was the mayor of Wheeling, West Virginia for 8 years. And he's running for Senate. So he was or is in real estate. A lot of what he talks about is providing physical structures. He's talking, this particular thing is about providing physical child care structures so families can go to work and there'll be extra, child care facilities and they can do what they have to do while their kids are being taken care of. This is him stumping. I do want to say this. He did mention this when he and his crew stumped a lot of the people that he door knocked for. Said, "Hey, look, we're voting for Trump," and he's like, "Listen, I'm not telling you not to vote for Trump, but are you really satisfied with Jim Justice?" And a lot of them go, "No, we're not." So not everything is going to be down ballot. A lot of it is, in my opinion. But if we can get Glenn Elliott in as opposed to Jim Justice,
that's a break.
It is a break.
That's a break, folks.
Glenn Elliott speaks on 8 years as Wheeling mayor. No one wants to live in a city defined by the rearview mirror, which means you don't want to be behind in technology. You don't want to be considered a backward town.
Right.
So now listen, Manchin talked about broadband and all that too, but he's talking about infrastructure. Much better than what Jim Justice will do, which would just be like talk as typical crap.
And let me tell you right now, this would be an improvement over Joe Manchin.
Yeah. Poll firms owned by family of West Virginia governor. This is Jim Justice. Now, this isn't Jim Justice himself, but are you going to tell me that he is not going to protect the mining industry when they pollute or when they treat their workers improperly or whatever? He's doing it now as governor. He's a governor of West Virginia now. I'm asking the people of West Virginia right now, are you satisfied with the way your state's being run? If not, maybe you take a flyer on Glenn Elliott and you don't have this man in representing the country, on the backs of West Virginians. I've been hearing about this guy 10 years now. Now, I want to say this. This is what I'm hearing from the Republicans. The Republicans who are running, I have two of them. There are examples of them delaying responses on debating. They don't want to debate. They just want to talk their talking point nonsense.
Debate on. They can't debate.
Right. Kerry Lake has not agreed to debate Ruben Gallego in Arizona State Senate. Here's why. She didn't give a good reason, by the way.
She missed the deadline
She missed the deadline.
to respond.
So the planned October 9 debate is hosted by the state's nonpartisan Clean Elections Commission. Now, do you think that Kari Lake is going to abide by rules put through by the Clean Elections Commission?
I'm just wondering if she probably doesn't want to be fact checked. She's just like Trump.
Right. I mean, she's going off on the whole. Now I believe she's going off on the allegations of Tim Walz and his ties to China. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Josh Hawley. He accosted Lucas Kunce at a state fair. I want to debate you. I want to debate you. He hasn't agreed to debate yet.
No, he wants the debate. He wants a debate on the fly. That's not a debate, okay? Come on. You know what? These guys are game players. Josh Hawley's a pussy. Josh Hawley was caught with his fist in the air running across the Capitol Mall during the insurrection. But when they came in the building, he was running like a little pansy for his life. He's a little weenie. All right. We need to get rid of Josh Hawley.
So we have Nicole Wallace.
Oh, yeah.
See her on the street.
I love this.
She's great. She interviewed Lucas Kunce. You guys can take a look at that.
She's a riot. The opening is great with this.
And finally, look, I don't normally put this is just a just a source. I'm not really gonna play the whole thing, but it's actually pretty freaking good.
It is good. It's very good. I have to tell you, I stopped and watched the whole thing. I watched it twice.
Yeah. Now here's something I want to talk about. They talk about in Josh Hawley talks about it and John Goodman talks about it. Family values. Okay. Let me get out of here. So family values. Your family, you can define who your family is.
No matter what.
Very close friends.
Okay.
And by the way, one thing too about JD Vance and devaluing people who don't have kids, that's a direct attack on the LGBTQ community. It really is. However, you have families such as Tim Walz, by the way, who for years tried to have a family. And Mr. Vance, you're going to deny people the chance to have children through IVF.
Right.
And then demonize them and say that they're not real people because they're not having children. Shut the fuck up already. Okay. Family values it's not just who you have sex with and who has kids by you, or who your mother and who your father is. You get to define who your family is, whether it be your fellow soldiers that are out in the field, or people that you work with for decades, or whoever, or your very close friends that you knew when you were a kid, or people that you meet and just become close friends with over decades. You get to define that, not some freaking book writer who decided to run for office.
So JD Vance is essentially saying that people like Pete Buttigieg and his husband, Chasten, who adopted 2 kids, who are now approaching their 3rd birthday, that's not a legitimate family, because as defined in Project 2025, and there's no getting away from the GOP in Project 2025, it's one man, one woman, and their children. They don't believe in surrogacy. They don't believe in IVF. They don't believe in any of that. So technically, if you don't have children, what if you're just a man and a woman who choose not to have kids? I have people in my family that live like that. They didn't want children. They travel instead. That's what they want. Okay. That's what they want to do with their lives. Okay. They didn't want children. Nothing's worse than having children you don't want, folks. I've got to tell you that. Okay. I've seen the results of that. So this is America. We get to have kids and we get not to have kids. So to hell with you. I don't know who these people think they are, thinking that they can dictate what the hell we get to do with our lives once we're here.
Here's one more thing that I want to mention. It was brought up in like a Daily Show clip or something that Project 2025 also talks about. No one who is convicted of a crime can run for office.
Yeah, except Donald Trump.
Except for Donald Trump or all the Republican scumbags who, Bettina Peters or whoever.
The other day, I made a video the other day about J.D. Vance's vision for women. And his vision is, if you're of childbearing years, you have children, period. Okay? There's, if you don't, then you certainly deserve fewer rights than other people and fewer services than other people. That's his vision for American women. And if you are of, post childbearing years, and there's no such thing for you as, moving on with your life and doing stuff that you can do now, enjoying yourself in later years, because your job is to raise your children's children. That's his vision for older women.
Now, again, I hate bringing this up. What's the name of that TV show where the girls were basically became broodmares? This is what it sounds like.
The Handmaid's Tale.
The Handmaid's Tale. This is what it sounds like. It sounds like it's Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, it is. That's what Project 2025 is when it comes to women. That's what it is.
Right.
We're little sperm banks. That's what we are. We are birthers. That's it. That's our only value to society. They're talking about women not having the vote. Look, come on, people. Well, let's talk about this. All right. Let's get real about all of this. If you're not awake by now, then I don't know what's going to help you between now and November.
Not for nothing. What better, middle finger to the GOP, to the Heritage Foundation, than to make a multiracial woman president of the United States?
Yeah. And what could be even better than to have her in the Oval Office when we celebrate our 250th anniversary as a nation?
Exactly.
No offense, Dave, but you guys have had 249 years to get this right.
Hey, I didn't do anything. It wasn't me.
I'm just saying the track ain't so good right now. All right.
Right.
So the time is now, folks. I believe the stairs leading into the Democratic convention says something like, about making history. History is within your reach, or something like that. I saw the picture this morning in one of the newspapers, but this is a historical moment. Just like this election is not like any other election in our time, it's even more so unlike any other election in our time right now.
By the way, I know that there are going to be protests outside of the DNC. There's going to be pro-Palestinian protests. There's going to be pro-Israeli protests because of what's going on right now. And there's going to be all of that. Do not let that diminish the history of this moment.
No, because that's their right. And they can do that if they want. So let's just let that play out the way it's going to play out. But right now, we have a clear path to save this nation from the throes of fascism, authoritarian rule under Donald Trump, this blabbering, blubbering, meandering, brain dead freaking clown who was out there every night, who can't even figure out what state he's in. He was in West Virginia. What state was it? Pennsylvania. He called it North Carolina last night in the middle of a speech. This guy has no clue where he is. All right. He's on another planet entirely. If you think he should be in charge of the nuclear codes and the government, then you've got something wrong with you. Okay.
You have one of your own. Granted, she ran against him, but she's supporting him. But Nikki Haley is slamming him right now, being like, listen, you're not going to win talking about crowd sizes. You're not going to win talking about her race. You're not going to win talking about the stuff you're talking about. You got to talk about policy, but he has no
What
policy.
policy? Project 2020. I went through this too. Project 2025 is his policy.
Yes.
That's the GOP's policy. Don't stop with all this nonsense. What policy can he possibly talk to you about? He can't even figure out the economy. He has no clue what the economy needs. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And it's just so blatant now. It's not even, it can't even be denied.
And even JD Vance, I can't remember which movie, but he, when you're asking him about policy, he's talking about movies.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like, what are you talking about?
what was he going to talk about? Together, the two of them have 5.5 years of public service experience. What the
Right.
hell did they do? What have they done in between that? Except get ready to foment a new revolution, a new insurrection come November. That's all they're doing. They're useless. There's not one person in the Republican Party that should be left standing at the end of the next 3 cycles. Not this party. And I'm going to say this. We need a healthy 2-party system in America, but not this GOP. And the people who are leaving the GOP and voting for Harris are saying the same thing. With Harris in office, we can work on rebuilding something that's worth bringing into the public view again. This party is an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to the nation. Okay? And every other world leader recognizes the danger of Donald Trump. And they have not been shy about talking about it either.
I have to say this. There was a clip back in 2018 or 2019 or whatever. Harris was talking, you know, with a group, and a guy came up and said, "Listen, I'm Republican and I disagree with a lot of what you say, but I respect what you say, and I cannot abide with people who are talking violent rhetoric and talking this and that." And Harris basically told him, "I completely respect you, and that was a very courageous thing for you to say, especially since you disagree with me and I disagree with you, but we agree to disagree, and let's move forward." But my point with this is that no, this party, this Republican Party, there is no talking to them. There's none. It's not the party of the 80s or the 90s. The 80s and the 90s, you could at least talk to them and get certain things done.
If you want to go back to, if you want to really talk about the Republican Party being the champion for workers,
right,
and all of that, you actually have to go back before Goldwater.
Right.
Goldwater moved the needle initially,
right,
and
right.
then it went to the extreme from there. If you want to talk about that party, the party that used to be about unions, about workers' rights, about workers' safety, about children, about family values, you go back before Barry Goldwater.
And that was 70 years ago. Now, listen, now they're talking about repealing child labor laws.
They are doing it in some states.
They are doing it in some states.
Project 2025 is being enacted in some states right now. Child labor laws being rolled back. Public schools are being closed. Money's being diverted to private Christian schools. It's happening all across the nation in red states. It's happening there. What they want is to have this nationwide. And you know what? You could say you live in a blue state and you're safe. They will find a way to penalize you from the federal government. They will cut off your funding for certain things. They will refuse to fund certain things that you want that they don't ideologically agree with. This is not a situation where we can sit back and say, I'm in Massachusetts, I'm okay. We can't do that. This needs to be, this whole extremist right-wing GOP needs to be dismantled at the voting booth in November.
I have to say before we go, we used to do that in New York. Oh, we're blue. We're turning purple now because we didn't pay attention for a short period of time. And now we have this anti-democratic sentiment, and we have pro-Trump idiots like Andrew Garbarino or Lee Zeldin walking around. Lee Zeldin is not going away. So we have these existential political threats out there. We're not completely safe. New York. They were talking about New York going to Trump. You can't allow that to happen. Voters in New York. That's insanity.
Talk is cheap. That's not going to happen. But
it's not going to happen. But what I'm saying is political situations are fluid. And if you don't pay attention, if Massachusetts didn't pay attention, they could have had Jeff Deal.
Oh, hey, Massachusetts didn't pay attention after Ted Kennedy died. They made the assumption, the voters made the assumption he had that seat for 46 years. There was no way Scott Brown was going to win. So everybody sat back. Scott Brown won. He only survived one term because Elizabeth Warren knocked him out. And the Democrats in the state woke up mighty quick after that. Okay.
Right.
But we're totally blue here. We are about as blue as you can get in Massachusetts, and we're going to keep it that way. So that's what our goal is here. We're keeping it the way it is. So,
yeah. But
by the way, for all of those people who may be thinking that, as I close, I just want to say this, that some of what Kamala Harris is saying can't be done, it can't be funded. You know what? Massachusetts proved them wrong, because the budget that was just passed by Maura Healey here includes free community college for everybody in Massachusetts, 25 years old and up. And how did we get there? Well, in 2022, the people of Massachusetts passed a provision that said we need to tax the billionaires and the millionaires so that they pay their fair share. And that's what they started doing. She signed that bill in 2022. They've raised more than $2 billion to use since then. We can do this in the United States across the board. We can save Social Security. We can expand it. But guess what? Elon Musk has to pay more than I do in Social Security tax.
Right. Now, it's also happening in Minnesota. Yes, Tim Walz is the governor.
Yep.
And by the way, if Tim Walz becomes vice president, we have the first Native American female governor of a state.
And that's a bonus.
And that's a bonus. But we also have Michigan. Take a look at Michigan and what
Gretchen
Governor Whitmer is doing.
Right.
So it can be done.
Yes, it can.
But you have to have the people in place. We need to stop letting people fall through the cracks and then turn around and go, oh, it can never happen. It won't happen if you don't vote the proper or the right people in.
Let me ask you a question. 15 years ago, did you ever think you were going to see a guy like Donald Trump at the top of any ticket for running for presidency? I bet you didn't. But you know what? Some of us were warning people that day was coming because we were watching what the GOP was doing. Okay? So when people say to me, there was a headline in the Bulwark, how did Minnesota ever let this guy become their Senate candidate? This guy from the GOP?
Right.
Well, how did the GOP ever hand their freaking party over to Donald Trump? It's easy how you become a piece of trash on a ticket.
Oh, by the way, question: how did Jim Justice become governor? Money.
Right.
Money and influence. And the only reason he has influence is because of his money.
Oh, now we got Donald Trump, and now we have an ex-NBA draftee running for the Senate in Minnesota. He's the Republican nominee for the Senate. He's really such a piece of garbage. So we will
get to everybody.
We'll get to everybody. I did do a video the other morning about him for Americans for Democracy. So
and let's just since we're spitballing here for a second, I want to talk about Greg Robinson for a second. I understand he's the governor of North Carolina, or not the governor, but he's running for governor of North Carolina. He's running against somebody because Roy Cooper or because Governor Cooper of North Carolina hit term limits, which I think we need to look have another look at that, honestly. But so Governor Robinson talks about abortion and how it's an abomination and all of that, and why is he so against abortion? Because his partner had an abortion 30 years ago. Listen, you can't have something and then say, oh, it's a mistake. It was a mistake for us, so nobody can get to do it.
Right. Correct.
Sorry, dude.
Yep. All right, gang. That's this week. What are we doing next? We don't know yet. We'll let you know.
We'll be doing probably more Senate races, but take a look at every single one of your candidates and vote for them. Vote blue down the ticket.
Right. It's blue down the ticket, top to bottom.
And just so you know, Debbie Merkelsel-Powell, she's probably going to win that primary, but I did, the Ballotpedia page does have everybody else. If you want to take a look, if you want to vote for them, okay, well, I'll do a profile on whoever wins the primary if Debbie Merkelsel-Powell doesn't win. But to me, she has legislative experience, and she was picked by the Florida DNC, so I figured she's going to win the primary.
Yeah, she's pretty much sure to win in the primary, but we'll see how it goes.
But make sure if you have, if you want to have your say in one of those primaries, hey, the primary is coming up, I believe, in 2 days. I believe it's this Tuesday. So, and also vote for Gloria Johnson. Gloria Johnson is on both. Obviously, she cannot, before anyone says it, because someone said it to me before. Well, she can't do both jobs simultaneously. No, she can't. If she wins the higher office, she's going to take the higher office. If she wins the lower office and doesn't win a higher office, she'll take the lower office. That's how that works. Don't overthink it, people. Jesus Christ.
All right, gang. We'll talk next week.
All right.